Story 1. I quit smoking in 2011. I used decreasing doses of nicotine in an electronic cigarette for 6 months, and by June I was nicotine-free. I have stayed that way ever since. Story 2. My mom caught me. The first week was very difficult, but I kept myself busy and chewed gum constantly. Story 3. Watched a documentary on emphysema. A woman who had just undergone open heart surgery also had emphysema and wanted a cigarette in the recovery room. She said, "Last one for me, cold turkey." Story 4. A book, weirdly enough, is a huge seller worldwide, and I can say it was the one thing that actually worked. Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking. Give it a try, it doesn't make sense, but it works. Good luck. Story 5. I got sick from both of them constantly. Vaping always gave me chest infections, so I stopped. Smoking also gave me chest infections, but I tried smoking one day when I had one and ended up throwing up. I stopped after that because the smell often makes me nauseous. I stayed off them because of that and because they are expensive and I have enough health issues. Story 6. I upgraded to cigars, then bought more and more expensive cigars. I cannot go back to cigarettes because I found the taste to be awful. Then I quit cigars because they were becoming too expensive, and I could not afford them anymore. Story 7. Took 2 weeks off work, stocked the house with supplies to avoid going out, and stayed consistently intoxicated to prevent overthinking. Story 8. My fiancé asked me to but relapsed a few times and has stopped now. Story 9. I had my face partially reconstructed, and that forced me to quit. Story 10. I do not comment much, but I quit using a JUUL device after almost 10 years by listening to the Easy Way audiobook by Alan Carr. I know it sounds absurd, but I swear something just clicked. I am over a month smoke-free with no cravings at all. Please give it a try. Story 11. Got home from Afghanistan and had to move in with my mother who did not know I smoked. It was best she did not find out. I went from desert conditions and landed in a blizzard. For a week or so, I did not even want to go outside. I was also dealing with the shock of going from combat to home. Quitting smoking was just one of the many rapid changes happening to me. I was successful going cold turkey because of that turmoil. Story 12. I used to chain smoke cigarettes, smoking at least a pack a day for several years. One day, I switched to nicotine pouches because they made my lungs feel much better. But I missed the head rush I used to get from smoking. Then, I read an article about a man who died from stuffing his penis and rectum with nicotine pouches, and I found out that the foreskin is extremely effective at absorbing nicotine. So, I tried using a nicotine pouch on my foreskin with one of my 100 milligrams Russian pouches. Immediately, I felt a burning sensation. I tried to bear the pain, but then the overwhelming nicotine rush hit, and I started to feel like I was about to throw up, which I eventually did 20 minutes later after enduring what I can only describe as pure agony. The whole experience has scarred me for life, and the thought of consuming any tobacco product now gives me post-traumatic stress disorder flashbacks. Story 13. Go down to zero nicotine vaping juice. Takes away the urgency. Before I knew it, I cut down to almost zero. I do not really care to quit though. Story 14. I realized how expensive they were getting, so I put them down and never picked them up again. I started as a young teenager, and at the time I had smoked for half my life. Story 15. I am really good at quitting smoking. I have done it 17 times. Story 16. After 10 years of smoking, I used green tobacco, switching one endorphin for another. Story 17. One day, I decided to quit cigarettes. Then I tried vaping, but the flavors were strange to me, so I threw away my vape. Also, being broke helped. Story 18. I had to try 3 times for quitting to stick. I quit finally in 2018 cold turkey. The secret for me was to be prepared for the mental battle against cravings from previous attempts. If you are not tired of being a smoker, you might not be ready. There are some audiobooks to help train yourself into being tired of it if you need that foundation. The first 2 weeks are the toughest. I used fruit such as tangerines to snack on during strong cravings and took brisk walks and calisthenics to get through anxious and obsessive moments. When you fight through a craving, you build mental defense against future cravings. The hardest part is when you have a really serious craving that lasts an hour or more. Just do not give in. Overcoming those intense cravings makes smaller ones easier to handle afterward. My approach is to not avoid cravings with cessation aids but to lean into them and fight, which solidifies new neural patterns to eliminate future cravings as your brain and body stop trying to make you smoke. Story 19. Go broke. You literally will not be able to do it because you cannot afford it anymore. Story 20. The first time I quit smoking through a hypnotherapist. I quit for about 8 years. Then my mother died and I started smoking again. A full pack a day for a year. On the first anniversary of her death, I quit again. The hypnotherapist helped me quit in just one session. He explained that the addiction was in my mind, put me in a trance or hypnotic state, and reprogrammed the way I thought about smoking. It was that simple and it worked. About a year after my mother passed, I decided to quit. I smoked an entire pack leading up to that day, quit cold turkey, and never looked back. It has now been 13 years since the second time, and I am still smoke-free. Story 21. Stopped abruptly after binge-watching Cells at work. Code Black. Story 22. I was 5 years old when this happened. A family member forced a cigarette on me. One puff was all it took to say no forever. Story 23. The money was my main motivator in quitting after almost 20 years of smoking. Calculate what you spend on cigarettes every month and consider that as extra cash in your pocket. For me, I averaged how much I spent on cigarettes over that 20-year period. It was a ludicrous amount of money and made me feel like a certified fool. Story 24. Just stopped buying them. It is mostly habit. Distract yourself with something else when you start to get bored. Story 25. I wanted to quit smoking, so I did. I used nicotine patches and gradually stopped using nicotine. It would not have worked if I had not wanted to. Story 26. I quit for 2 months and then had a cheat day and have been re-addicted since. I use nicotine patches, gum, and snacks, and I pick up extra shifts at work to keep busy. I also spend time reading, painting, and making crafts with clay. I could also swim if it is summer. Story 27. Switched to light cigarettes, then gradually reduced my daily cigarettes until it was just one a day. It was pretty easy to quit after that. Story 28. I got a major respiratory infection and could not get enough breath. I went to the hospital after a few weeks and have not taken anything since then. That was in the winter. Story 29. I started vaping to help quit smoking. I would buy 2 30-milliliter bottles of my favorite juice. One with 24 milligrams of nicotine and one with 18 milligrams. I would fill the tank with the 24 milligram bottle, then top off the tank with the 18 milligram bottle, which would lower the nicotine level very slowly. Then I would buy a bottle with 18 milligrams of nicotine and one with 12 milligrams and do the same thing. I kept doing this until I was vaping juice with no nicotine. After about a month of that, I threw it all away. I had no cravings and never vaped or smoked again. Story 30. Nicotine lozenges were then replaced by Excel mints, which have exactly the same flavor without the nicotine. Story 31. I used to smoke a pack a day. I started by gradually reducing the strength of cigarettes, moving from full strength to low nicotine options, and then eventually quit abruptly. I found myself regularly reaching for a smoke. This was many years ago when smoking at your desk was common. To break the habit, I cleaned my old ashtray and filled it with trail mix instead. Story 32. While I was using electronic cigarettes, I saved all my almost empty devices. When I was ready to quit, I used those as small nicotine doses while I weaned myself off. Once I ran out of almost empty devices, I was mostly free of nicotine. I just had to break the habit of using the electronic cigarette. Story 33. Wellbutrin and nicotine gum. However, it is a lifelong battle once you are addicted to nicotine. Story 34. Just quit immediately. It felt pathetic being such a slave to it. I will always maintain that people cannot quit because they do not want to quit. Because nicotine is addictive. Story 35. After 10 years of trying hard, it was a joke with my friends that I had a heart attack at 40. It worked like a charm. You do not want this. Estimated time of arrival. You do not want this. Story 36. As someone who has quit 3 times, candy, sugar-free gum, or something to give your mouth something to do can help. Walk every time you want to smoke or vape. Smoke with a different hand, or make a rule to never smoke in the same place to help change your brain's routine. Don't smoke first thing in the morning. Drink water first. Use money-saving tools or a motivator and check in with yourself, such as, hey, I saved $500 this month. I'm gonna go shopping, etc. Hope this helps. Story 37. Was on varenicline. Stopped in about 2 weeks. Still craved for many years. My mother stopped with varenicline as well. During the consultation, her doctor mentioned one of the side effects was vivid dreams. She asked him what he meant, and the doctor replied, "Many love them. I feel cheated as I never got them." Story 38. I had a headache from the nicotine, so I quit easily because I did not want to take it anymore. Story 39. Stopped buying. Never have it within reach. Go longer and longer between uses. I will let you know if it works. Story 40. The flu affected me so severely that I could not breathe properly. After a week of suffering, the cravings lessened, and I decided to quit smoking permanently. Story 41. I have cancer. Perspective is important. My cancer was not caused by vaping. There is no known cause for my cancer. Probably did not help, but who knows? Story 42. Watching my mother-in-law die from cancer caused by her smoking was a bit of a help. I quit smoking abruptly and replaced key triggers such as after meals with having a hot coffee. My wife used medication to quit. Story 43. Suffering from another addiction. For me, it is ice cream after a meal. Story 44. Cold turkey. Set a date and threw everything away. The first weeks were very difficult, but I promised myself I would never put myself through that again. It has been 5 years now, and I am still keeping that promise to myself. Story 45. I tried the vaporizer for 1 day. The next morning, I was sick of it, so I gave it up in 1 day. Story 46. Patches were left on even when putting on another the next day. Also stayed busy. Gained a bit of weight, but preferred that instead. Money saved could have gone towards a gym membership if I had been smart about it. Story 47. Went to a mountain hut for 2 weeks. I started again after 3 months. Now, in August, I will go there again. Wish me luck. Story 48. I had a whitey while smoking a joint and drinking. I couldn't face another cigarette after that in 2001. I had been trying for years to quit unsuccessfully. I occasionally use a vape while on holiday now but have no problems afterward. Story 49. I had to spend most of 2019 in the hospital and a physical rehabilitation facility, and they would not get cigarettes for me. Story 50. Nicotine gum, followed by being unable to afford nicotine gum. Story 51. I started using an electronic cigarette to quit smoking. 6 years later, I am still vaping. Story 52. Cold turkey and a count-up application. Seeing how long it had been felt like a new achievement as each second ticked by. I could not stomach giving up the progress when it was staring me in the face. Without nicotine, I became so irritable I could hardly believe it. I was not even myself. It scared me to see the power it had over me, and that was just further reason to push forward. Story 53. Strangely, I read a book about quitting smoking, but it was not forceful or pushy. It did not preach. It slowly presented options you could try if you wished. I had attempted to quit several times before, but after reading that book, I quit abruptly. I did not experience severe cravings, and I succeeded. I have not smoked in over 15 years. Story 54. I had the original COVID-19 in 2020. I had a 40-degree fever and felt very unwell. After 3 weeks, I tried to smoke, but it smelled and tasted very unpleasant. I have not touched a cigarette since. Story 55. For someone you love, because it is very difficult to do just for yourself. Story 56. Reduce, reduce, reduce. Change the habit. Chew tie wraps, coffee stirs, or straws. Decide what day to quit, then quit. I got tired of going outside to smoke, tired of stinking up the car, tired of taking too many breaks at work. Near the end, I realized the pack of cigarettes lasted 4 days. I quit on December 31st, 1999. Now cigarettes smell terrible. Story 57. It takes 5 days of cravings. Days 2 and 3 are the worst. Takes 3 weeks to stop thinking about it. Have baby carrots on hand during the first week. Do not use gum or patches. I am convinced these were invented to keep you in the nicotine ecosystem. Do not bum cigarettes and never buy a pack again. You will be well on your way over a long weekend. All that is required is the desire to quit. Story 58. The way that worked for me was sitting down and figuring out just how much money I have spent on cigarettes since day one. This was decades ago, and vaping did not exist. After seeing just how much money I willingly threw away on an obviously horrible habit after 12 years of smoking, just that alone was enough to convince myself that quitting was worth it. Story 59. Cold turkey, but I consulted a stop smoking psychologist for a couple of sessions. She gave me tips for getting through it. It worked because at that time I was ready. This was in 2002 when they did not yet have vaporizers. The first 3 months were the worst. Then I never thought about it again. Following the psychologist's recommendation, I tried a patch on the first day, but it made me so dizzy that I had to remove it. So it was cold turkey. Story 60. I smoked for over 40 years and made many unsuccessful attempts to quit. Ultimately, I stopped suddenly. I never tried electronic cigarettes because it felt like just another crutch, and I did not want to become addicted to something else. The strong desire to finally quit is what I believe helped me the most. It has been 10 years since I quit, and I am very glad I did, for both my health and the financial benefits. Story 61. Cinnamon candies make cigarette smoke taste terrible. It worked like a charm, but now I am addicted to cinnamon bears. Story 62. I quit smoking by switching to vaping. Then I quit vaping by switching to ZYN pouches. I quit those by reducing the dose and frequency. By that time, I had already been off cigarettes for 5 years and off vaping for 1 year. Story 63. Champix. Technically the generic brand version varenicline. I have not had a cigarette in 3 months after smoking for over 15 years. I have tried everything over the years, but this medication felt like a cheat code for quitting. It was so easy. Story 64. I did it with gum, but nicotine salts were the hardest to quit, harder than cigarettes for sure. Story 65. Stopped putting cigarettes in my mouth and lighting them. Story 66. I just quit for that day. Every morning, I made the decision not to smoke that day. I also changed my daily activities where I would have normally smoked. It will be 11 years in February. Story 67. Get sick or have a scare of some kind, you blame it on something. It works for me. Usually, this is what happens to me. Story 68. Told myself it is an expensive thing to keep up, and the desire just vanished. Story 69. Nicotine patches and a strong desire to quit due to cognitive dissonance caused panic attacks each time I smoked. Story 70. Getting violently ill with mold toxicity. I had to move back in with my unpleasant parents, who were strongly against vaping. I was scared to do it in front of them, but I could barely breathe. I barely noticed the psychological withdrawals because I was so sick. Story 71. I went the cold turkey route, but I definitely would not recommend it for most people. What I have learned is the tapering method and using nicotine replacement therapy often provide the most practical and methodical paths for people looking to quit. Having a step-by-step process helps with both discipline and motivation because you are taking small steps. Also, I have found that tapping into your existing or new support network is crucial because there will be more days than not when you feel frustrated and want to quit quitting. This process is hard. That is why we are building NIXR. We realize that most people need a combination of a structured approach and interactive support, but it is not always easy to find. We are creating a recovery coaching platform that pairs people with our recovery coaches. Contact me if you would like to learn more. Story 72. Just put it down. Quitting cold turkey is the best way in my opinion. I did this and quit for 1.5 years. But I am smoking a cigarette as I am typing right now. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.